So good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Marketing Office Minutes. For those of you who haven't seen this show before, the whole idea is for you to call in via Zoom and participate live in real time, ask your questions of me and the other folks that are on the broadcast. I'm joined today by a special guest, Dr. Robin McKillop, who is an online business specialist. Good morning, Robin.
Good morning.
And Robin, you do a lot of work on talking about video, right? Can you tell me a little more about that?
One of the things that we have to have as business owners is visibility. We need to be able to expand our local markets into a much wider range. And one of the best ways to get visible is by doing video.
Okay.
It is the second best thing to actually meeting someone face to face, because they still get to know you. And think about an infomercial, something that you watch when you can't sleep in the middle of the night. They run for 30 minutes. There's usually one host. They're selling some obscure thing that you really don't need, but you're so compelled to buy it. And it's not the object that gets you to buy, it's the host.
Yeah.
Because while the host may be speaking to thousands and thousands of people who are also insomniacs, they make it so they're talking to you alone. And so there is a relationship or a connection built in that 30 minutes, and people buy because they feel like someone is talking to them. It's huge.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. I mean, besides the fact that I think that, posts that have video are read much more often on social media than those that just use a graphic, or those that even don't have a graphic and just use text. Pardon me. That video, you're right. It's a way for people to get to know you, and a way for you to project your personality and give them a good chance to begin to know and like and trust you before you get face to face, which hopefully you'll do. Or if you're just selling something like on an infomercial, you'll come across sincere enough for them to buy. Interesting. Yeah. And then when you work with clients, I know I got a comment from Suda Bay the other day saying that you had helped her with videos and that you had done a superb job for that. Tell me a little bit about how you work with clients.
I have two ways. One is private coaching, and then we work on anything the client wants to build for their business to either automate or make just to scale the business and make it easier on them as a business owner so they can focus on what they are best at. And I also run a video course, and it's for people who are just getting into video or who have not done video, know they need to, and have some barriers like, oh, I don't know what to say. What am I going to say? Or they freeze when the light goes on, or they just feel like, oh no, I'm not someone who should be on video. All of that is nonsense, because what video does is bring you and your personality to other people. And so when you look into a lens, you're talking to your clients. You're not talking to the masses, you're talking to somebody and it makes it so much easier. Yeah. And that's really just what people have to think about. Don't let the technology portion of it freak you out. Don't downgrade yourself, because if you are comfortable talking with people in real life, you'll be great on video.
Yeah, it's interesting. I remember way back in my teenage years when reel-to-reel tape recorders were all the thing, and how strange it sounded to hear of my own voice on a tape recorder. It was just the weirdest thing in the world.
Yes.
And I've been doing these videos now. I started doing the Monday Marketing Minutes ones back in November. And when I look back at some of those early ones, they're like, oh my God, that was horrible. But the longer you do this, the more comfortable you get with it, and the more practice you can begin to project. So it's an interesting phenomenon. A lot of people, you're right, they're just scared. They think, well, I have a face for radio or something like that. But you're right. It really does give a chance to project.
It does. And it's so funny that you brought up the story about the tape recorder, because I use that too. I remember I had to do a school project and I had to tape it and then take the tape into school. Remember the cassette tapes? Our younger generation won't know what we're talking about, but
Right.
and I certainly do. And I was appalled at how I sounded. And my brother said, well, that's how you sound. It's fine. And I just thought, oh no, I need to have a complete voice makeover. This is not okay. And once you start listening and you hear it, it's fine. It sounds like everybody else's voice. It's just that first interim of hearing yourself from outside, because we hear our voices internally, and so it is a little different. But once you get used to it from the outside, it's fine. And people want what is authentically you. So they don't really necessarily want to see your video done professionally with the white, bright background and all the edits where it's perfect. They want to know you. And it's the same with networking. When you go to a network event, you want people to know you. You don't want to jump in selling. You want people to build a relationship and connections with people. And video allows you to do that.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. The platforms that are out there today seem to be proliferating. YouTube was the thing for many, many years. And when I started with the Monday Marketing Minutes, I was using it and then with Google Hangouts to do that. And then I switched over to live stream because it recorded at a higher resolution. And then recently I've decided to switch to the Zoom platform.
Yes.
But there are also a lot of these now live things like Periscope and Facebook Live just went mainstream to the Android world, I guess, a month or so ago. What's your opinions on those kinds of things, doing live streaming versus making a video or making, for example, a replay of this video available?
Well, for live streaming, especially with things like Periscope, where the video is only up for 24 hours and then it disappears, unless, of course, you save it. You can set your phone to save all your Periscopes. The thing that's great about live stream is if you come up with something, how you're going through your day and you come up with this brilliant idea and you want to scribble it down. Well, if you want to get it out to your audience, do a Periscope, because then you've got it down, you've reached some people, and you'll start building a following because you're delivering this great content in small chunks, and people want that. And then, of course, if you've got your phone set to save it, you can reuse it. You can upload it to Facebook. You can change it around so you've got your logo at the beginning. There's so much diversity in what we can do with technology today. And I, for one, have not yet done a Facebook Live because I'm an Android user. I was one of the last ones to be able to access it.
Yeah, me too.
But it's the same idea. When you've got something to say or you're in an experience that you want to share, you're somewhere where you want to tell people about it and let them join in, do a live stream. Do it on Periscope. Do it on Facebook Live, because then people are able to see in real time what's happening. And people love to be involved.
Yeah. What about Blab, for example? That's another one that seems to be pretty popular.
It's actually not used well by business owners. It is, and I'm not sure why, because that's even better. You can put up a panel of 4 people and direct the conversation, and anyone from anywhere in the world can come on the chat. And so you've got a lot of interaction. With Periscope, people can type in, but it's hard to type in anything lengthy because, one, they flip through so quickly that the scoper themselves can't really read a long message.
Right.
And it's got the heart thing, so if you like what your scoper's saying, you can press the press the phone front and send in hearts. But with Blab, hold on one second. I may need to call my dog. Mika. And this is one of the great things about live stream. You don't get to control the environment, not fully 100%. So, but with Blab, you have so much engagement opportunity and interaction. It's a great way to get yourself known to a much wider audience, to build your followers, and you need to do them regularly. Doing them once a month is not enough. You've got to make a plan and do them. And if you've got a group of people, if you've got 2 other people, the nice thing about that is you can bring in someone from your audience.
Yeah,
So
I kind of like that format. Actually, when I started, I tried it out. I don't know, it must be back in November, and I put up a Blab that was just in the test area and off the record, and I think the 3rd keyword was marketing, and ended up getting a participant from the UK, guy by the name of Leroy, and he became a special guest actually on, I think, the 2nd or 3rd episode of Monday Marketing Minutes. And I got an announcement for a Blab the other day, so I had time and I popped into it, and lo and behold, there he was.
great.
The only thing I didn't like about Blab for business use was, again, the inability to use the combination of video, the talking head like we are, and graphics, which is, again, why I think it was Leroy who suggested to me, the expert broadcaster, to do that. So, but back to this comment you made, the comment about the infomercial and 30 minutes of that. Would you recommend trying to do that kind of a selling job with a live stream, or is that something that's much better off being prepared and scripted and done at least semi-professionally?
If you have a big following, you can do it.
Okay.
Because it's authentically you, it's in real time, and you just need to have a good notion of what you're going to say, because you never want to memorize.
Okay.
You don't want to write out a script and try to memorize it, because you'll miss a beat, and that'll take you completely out. And you don't want to do that on a live stream. You want to be able to talk freely, and as people comment, either if you're on Blab or Periscope or even Facebook Live, as people comment, if it's a comment that really you want to address, you're able to do it.
Yeah.
And so you don't ever want to memorize what you're going to say, because it makes it less authentic, and it's harder on you to get your message out if you've got this thing memorized, because you're just like, okay, now I'm stuck in these parameters. And really, for engagement and interaction, you want to have some free form, because you want to be able to bring people into the conversation. And it's interesting, they do that on those infomercials. They'll have a phone line and have people call in and ask about the product, or say, I bought this last night and I got it overnight and it's great, that sort of thing. And so it's really nice to be able to interact with your audience.
Yeah. Well, and again, that's one of the reasons I kind of like the Zoom platform, is that we can bring in pretty much as many people as we want.
Yes.
Up to certain limits, but yeah, it does provide that, and it allows us to record this. This is being recorded, and it'll be up on YouTube sometime later today as a replay for those who have not joined us here. I don't know just off the top of my head. I think it's just you and me at the moment, but in terms of participants. But so if somebody comes to you and says, okay, I think I need to do a video, and there goes my phone, the other phone.
Live stream.
Yeah, I usually remember to unplug that before this, but in any case, I was somewhere there. Let's see what I was going to ask.
See, and this is what people like, because we may have planned, I turned my phone off, but I didn't think about the dog.
And see, I turned my cell phone off or to silent, but I didn't think about the landline. So
Exactly. And it's just real life. It lets people know that we're all human. We all deal with the idiosyncrasies of daily life, and it's okay.
yeah, yeah. I think that the proliferation of these things has made it feel more okay to more people because how they see their friends doing it and their colleagues doing it, and that sort of thing. What do you think are the key points you'd give to somebody who's just starting out on it and says, okay, what do I need for lighting and cameras and equipment and all this other stuff?
Well, one of the first things I would say is don't spend much money, if any. If you are using your smartphone to do video, always hold it like this.
Okay. Yep.
Don't ever hold it upright. Now, when you do Periscope, Periscope requires you to hold it this way.
Okay.
But if you do a video, you need to hold your phone like this because otherwise you'll end up with the video where it's got two black.
Yeah, the black bar
stripes.
things. Yeah.
Yes, and you cannot edit those out. So always hold your phone long ways.
Okay.
And it's also easier to hold.
Sure.
And with lighting, natural lighting is always the best. I've got a big window in front of me, which is why I'm not wearing my glasses because it'll reflect. You can see in the phone. You can see there.
Yep, I see that. Yeah.
The natural lighting is by far the best. And if you don't have natural lighting, you want a light overhead and lights coming in from the sides. Because what you're trying to diminish is any shadowing under your chin or one half of your face.
Okay.
And so light overhead, lights coming in kind of, you can't see my hands, but at an angle this way.
Okay. Yeah.
Towards your face. And set them about 4 to 6 feet away. And in my own office, I happen to have a desk lamp. Works just fine. It doesn't have a filter. It's not a fancy light. It's just a desk lamp. Works great. This side, I have another light, another lamp. So you probably have all the equipment you need in your home.
Okay. What about cameras? Is it okay to just use the camera in the PC if you're doing it like we are today, or do you need to use a special webcam?
I would strongly suggest purchasing a Logitech webcam. Most often the laptop cameras are not high resolution, and you'll get a picture or a video that's grainy, looks like there's a mesh over it. It's just not very clear.
Okay.
And Logitech cameras, you can get one on Amazon for $21.99, and it's well worth $21.99 because it comes with a microphone.
Yeah, yeah. I'm using a Logitech. I think it's a 615 or a 635. I know other people have recommended the 900 series, which was a bunch more expensive, and so I went with this one just because it was kind of mid-range. And I also had have an external microphone connection, but I found that the audio on this Logitech camera is excellent.
It is.
That's what I'm using right now rather than the external microphone. So it really does do a good job. And the other thing that has been interesting that I've learned over these years is, and you're very good at it, is looking into the lens.
Yes.
Right. That's another issue if you're using a PC. It's so easy to look. For example, now I'm looking at you, and so I'm not looking at the lens. Now I got you pretty close to the top, but not all the way up. And so it takes practice to be able to remember that, hey, you're supposed to be looking at the person you're talking to and not at the person talking with you. So
exactly. That's huge, John.
Yeah, I mean, because if you're, for example, I can look up at this, whichever side it's on, at this little graphic up there, right? And I'm not sure, I don't have this, there's two ways to do this, mirror image or not mirror image. So you never know which side your left or your right is. I think this is my right. But yeah, if you're looking at a script or a slide, I don't think that makes things nearly as effective as if you're looking straight into the lens. And that's
Exactly.
another reason I like the programs where you can have both the graphic and the video on it, because
Yes.
if some of these whiteboard videos and some of the graphics that only have the graphic or they're not real personal. They're kind of flat, I think. Even when they're done with professional voiceover people and stuff like that, it lacks that human connection that I think this medium does.
Exactly. I would agree full-heartedly. And I have two tips as well along the lines of what you were saying. It's as simple as getting yourself a little sticky note and put a face on it. Just put a smiley face on it and stick it on your camera right next to the lens. Because if you're looking at that sticky note, you're looking at the lens.
Okay.
Don't cover the lens.
Right.
That will completely ruin the whole thing. But just put a sticky note, a small one, not a big one, right next to the lens, and that will help your vision center in, and you'll be looking at your client or whoever you're talking to. The other thing is your camera should always be slightly above eye level. If it's lower, you're going to you're going to close your eyes halfway, and that's noticeable.
Yeah.
Difference. Because if you're looking at me from underneath, you're looking up my nose and my eyes are half closed.
Right.
If I'm looking up, my eyes are open and bright. And for women my age, this goes away.
And men my age as well, so it's the same kind of a thing. Yeah, it's interesting. When we were talking about lighting and stuff like that, I have two computers here in the office, and this one faces a window, but I usually end up having to close that window because it's actually too bright, even with the automatic adjustment for the camera. But the other machine, which is at a 90-degree angle from me, has the issue of bright light on one side of the face and dark on the other.
Yes.
So I went with, I went with this thing, and I have some floodlights in the office that kept burning out, and so I've invested in LED lamps for those floodlights a while back. I brought them home, and they were the bluest thing you ever saw in your life. It's like being in an operating room.
Yes.
But for $6, I found some what they call CTO, or color temperature orange film, at a photography place, stuck them over it and made it a whole lot more like tungsten rather than the LED light, because it's interesting. But you're right, you don't have to spend a lot of money. I think I spent $40 for the camera, and I needed new light bulbs anyway, so
yeah,
it was not a big deal. So yeah, interesting.
it is, and it's easy to do. And then if you are outside, and especially for people whose businesses center around wellness, health, exercise, fitness, go outside, go take a hike and do a video. Just make sure you're not in a really heavily forested area where everything is dark. Because you want to be sure that you show up, and you can just test it out by doing a 10-second video.
Okay.
Very easy to test out, and then you just move around until you find a good spot. But that kind of background is amazing.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting, because now you're getting to a point where you're saying, okay, depending on the business you're in, will really depend upon the setting you may want to use for these things, right? And it makes sense if you're a lifestyle person, or if you're a hiker or something like that, to get out there and do that. Any other profession-specific tips that you might have?
For backgrounds, for instance, I would not suggest my background. I've got my whiteboard, and I put a message up on it purposefully, but between the dark and the light, the video will switch. If I stay over here, see how the lighting switched?
Yeah.
And then if I come back here, it's much better.
Right.
And so I would suggest there are two things that you can do that are cheap and easy. One, if you've got a spot in your home where you've got good lighting and you're going to do your videos, paint a patch of the wall. So whatever the space would be that the video would capture, paint the wall an earth tone or a gray tone. Don't go black, don't go white.
Mm.
And make sure it's not too dark, because even like a maroon is too dark.
Yeah.
But earth tones and browns, grays, think rocks, tree trunks, greens work well.
Okay.
So just think of your natural colors. And the other thing you can do is just hang a sheet.
Okay.
That makes it really simple.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. David Bear was talking to us last week on this program, and he went to a fabric store and picked up a big piece of black felt.
yes.
He hung that up, and he uses that on a regular basis, and it's actually a fairly nice effect because it looks like it's just his face coming out of the dark backgrounds, which is kind of nice. And I did some of the Monday Marketing Minutes ones with a green tablecloth actually back up there. And then I got kind of tired of that, so I just went back and said, okay, that's my ugly office and my bullet board back there, and this is where I work and this is who I am. So it's
exactly. And it goes back to what we had talked about before, being authentic. If you are just doing videos to serve people, you don't have to be as concerned with your background. You don't want it too cluttered.
Right.
Because you don't want people looking at your bookshelf trying to read the titles of your books and that sort of thing. You want them to be paying attention to you. And I think the only time you really need to have a good background is if you're making a promotional video, something where you're getting ready to sell a program or a product or a service. Then you might want to just up it a notch and have a sterile background. Again, not white, and generally black is not great. I was on David's call and he popped.
right.
That's what you want. You want to make sure you don't fade away, that you are the focal point.
Right. All right. Yeah. The other thing, actually, just back to the camera issue. One of the things I discovered is that it's difficult if you're using a PC again to look at the camera instead. And what I've had to do here to really make it easier is I actually taped the camera right to the screen on the display so that it's just about eye level. Maybe it should be a little higher, but that way, I'm really looking at you at this point, and your face is just a tiny bit under the camera like this, and
Perfect.
I can move that stuff and that way. So it's it just went full screen. Interesting. So okay, well, we're almost out of time, Robin. Any other tips or hints or techniques that you might want to share before we log off here?
Yeah, for people who use webcams and don't know how to get their webcam up, use a yoga block. Set your monitor with the webcam or set your laptop on a yoga block.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sturdy, light, easy to use, cheap. So I don't even take mine out of the wrapping. I just went down to Fred Meyer, bought 2 yoga blocks, and I have my laptop sitting on one and because I have a separate monitor. I have the monitor with the camera sitting on the other, and it takes it exactly to where I need it.
Oh, that's a great thought. Yeah, you're right. You don't have to get fancy tripods and stuff like that. You can just improvise a lot because nobody's going to see that anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah, and just a hint on the your issue with the light changing depending on where you're at. When I use the controls for the Logitech camera, if you go to Advanced, there's a couple of buttons you can push. That one of them is in fact, let me pop it up here and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about if I can find it here. I have to go to this screen and go to configure video input is what will be there. And let me go to a separate scene here and add a screen capture. I gotta move something first. Okay, so there's your adjustments, and you got to go to advanced settings there. Let me make this bigger.
This will be helpful to a lot of people.
So you can see it. Okay, so when you go to advanced settings there, you've got this button here that says, again, it's a little hard to read there, says bright light, and then there's another button over here that says auto. Okay, now normally you would turn those on, and I'm sure that either your bright light is on or button is selected and your auto button is. But if you want it the really bright way, when you had your head your head in front of the whiteboard, or if you want it the darker way, pick which one you want and then uncheck these buttons.
Oh, perfect.
Because right now you got them rechecked, but you can get the lighting the way you want it, and then you can just turn them off. And then it won't do those funny things in the middle of as you're doing your thing.
Nice. That's a huge tip for people.
It's it solves that problem of the light changing on you all the time when you're not sure what's going on.
Yes.
It took a little experimenting to figure that one out, because mine does the same thing. Depending on what's in the background and whether it's morning or nighttime makes a difference as well.
Yes.
All right. Now, if people want to get in touch with you to help them with getting into the video world for their business, how do they best reach you, Robin?
Two of the best ways. One by phone, and I'll give you my phone number because I am open to calls, 503-949-6135. And the other way is go to my website, robinmckillop.com. ROBYNMACKILLOP.com. And I have a great video class for beginners. It is so much fun. We work together. We have a private Facebook group, and it's a safe way to learn and build your confidence doing video with other people who are in the same boat.
Oh, well, that's a great thing. So it's a group. How many people are in that group at the moment?
I've got 8 people in it right now, and I've got another one coming up in May. So now would be the time to get hold of me.
Okay. Well, I think when I do the edit on this, I will add the phone number. I'll put some with Movie Maker. I can put your phone number and your text right here in this video, or your website, and I'll put those right in here. That. So, all right. Well, listen, Robin, thank you so much for spending this half hour with us. I really appreciate it. I'm sure that the others will too as they watch the replay. And for those of you who may have just tuned in or may be watching this replay, there are 3 more episodes coming up of Marketing Office Minutes. They're Thursday mornings. They're at 9 a.m. They're via the Zoom platform, which is very easy to use and free. And there are special guests. Next week is Molly Lucas from Sacred Fire Productions, who's going to be talking to us about webcasts and websites. And then I had somebody for May the 12th, but he ended up with a schedule conflict and dropped out. So if you'd like to share your expertise the way Robin did it, or the way David Baer did in last week's episode, please do contact me, either by phone, 503-877-4609, or JONTURINO.com, Jon@JonTurino.com, and we'll get you in here and make you a star the way we made Robin a star this morning.
Woohoo!
So thank you again, Robin, and thanks to all of you folks who may be tuning into the replay. And we hope to see some of you next week and for the next 3 episodes.
Yes. Have a great day, Jon.
All right. You too, Robin. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.